Good afternoon, everyone. Or evening or morning, depending on where you're watching this.
Mm.
But anyways, sorry about the spotty updates lately. It's been a hectic summer. I know a
Yep.
lot of you have
Yes.
been ghosting me on email, and you know who you are.
I know I sent out just a massive way. It wasn't bulk email. I sent individually. I spent I don't know how many hours going through and just methodically sending emails. And I'm like, all right, I finally got that done. Big burden off my shoulder. And I came back a few hours later, and my inbox was full of out of office notifications. So I'm like, oh well, okay, we're all in that boat right now.
Yeah, right now I've got a lot of people like, oh yeah, we're gonna sign up, or hey, I need some help on this, and then I email back and just crickets.
Yeah.
And it's just summer, people. I mean, it's this week. I usually say, like, if we get a burst of activity in July or June, I'll consider that a boon.
Oh
And
yeah.
that is us going, oh well, this fall is going to be really interesting.
Yes. Hang on.
Yeah, because everybody's out on vacation. Everybody's trying to get some project work done. Everybody's kind of recovering from 4th of July or Canada Day, or just going and getting out and
Yep.
enjoying the summer.
Yep.
So I know I will be taking off here last week of July and into August. I'll be heading out to Colorado. So anybody who wants to join me for some, hey, Mr. Bauer, it's awfully late for you. Yeah, I will be heading out to Colorado. Anybody wants to join me up in the mountains, or actually, technically the foothills. I'll be up in Red Feather area, and yeah, Miss Richard is over there. He's going to experience 3 winters in a row: northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere.
Yep. I was just thinking
So
when you were talking about Reagan out for summer, Richard popped to mind.
he needs to watch Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. No, winter is here. It's going to be there for a while.
Yep.
Well, anyways, we're talking through right now. This time of year on our roadmap, in about a week, we were going to talk about cadence. And so I bumped it up because it's one of my favorite topics. I've got lots of little whiteboards out there
Oh no.
and on cadence and how often you need to meet with people.
Hmm.
And usually I tell people it's how often do you want to know things are going wrong. So
Hmm.
since I was not going to be here in 2 weeks, we could have recorded one, just presented it then. I decided that we wanted to do like a little twofer here. And it's because we released our project update last week
Hmm.
and have been fixing bugs and then improving it over this
Little
past week
ones
and a half.
too. It's
Little,
pretty
little,
cool.
little
Yeah,
ones.
I've been really
It,
excited about it.
like it's one of those things where you build a feature and you're excited for it, and then it releases and it's better than expected. Like you're
Yes.
like, okay, this
Yep.
has far-reaching ramifications, and this
Yep.
is going to do some cool stuff. And
Yep.
now we've got all these new features we want to come out with because, okay, well, this is cool. Now we can do this, and so it kind of segues into our cadence. So if you're now able to get real-time project updates through our tool, and they look good, and you're able to view these things in real time, well, what if you're able to share them real time with your clients?
Yeah.
And that just got released a test about an hour ago.
Yeah. A
And so
little
we're
more.
like, why not just let everybody know? And why not just make that part of our update today? So we adjusted things, and you should as well. Is when you have a synergistic moment, sorry for the business terms here, but when you can synergize, like, hey, if you bump this a week or you push it a week, you can have a bunch of things happen all at the same time. They're going to work really well together.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done.
Well, Adam's bringing that up. Let me put in another plug out there. Get out there, test that Project Sync. It's a whole new screen that pops up. More details. Details are the key element in there. We're getting really good stuff. It's activating workflows in the PSAs. That was really cool. Working with a member, they were testing it. It's a portion that I hadn't fully tested, and our devs did some extra work that I didn't know about. And so I was like, great. And so took a member and we're like, all right, you and I are both looking at this first time. And we kicked some stuff off. And sure enough, the workflows activated within this case, it was Autotask. So really cool stuff going on there. So get in there, test those out. There's more work. We've not put a bow on that, so to speak. We are actively looking for feedback. We have a list of items we are still working on. I think we've got a known issues little thread out there that we've been pushing out, and we need your input on that. We can only test so much. So we need your real world input to really help define what it is that would make this even better for your MSP.
All right. Yeah. So here's the test environment, right? This is really cool because we have all this new items coming in. We have these, if you'll notice, your pie graph over here is getting way more complicated. Because in our test environment, we have so many, like we've test 1, test 2, test 3, op 1, op 2, op 3. And
well, ours goes even
just
more
going nuts.
No, so remember, this is another, little interesting little caveat, or not caveat, a little nugget of information. Our test environment is actually linked to 3 separate PSAs.
Yeah.
So we can do that. So we're getting Autotask status updates and ConnectWise and Halo all at the same time because, well, we found out our tool links to all of those without any issues. So it was kind of a neat little discovery.
Yeah. Just accidental discoveries in our tool, right?
Cool stuff.
It's all about agile programming. This is rapid deployment where you're making things, you're doing cool things, and then you're finding things out as you go. So something you need to know is like now we have this roadmap here, and it contains everything. Oh, this is, I even cleaned up the prod environment, so this is a lot cleaner now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been cleaning both of them too.
For a Cadence standpoint, like how often do you want to meet with your clients? What do they want to know about? How often do they want to see if things are going right, wrong, sideways, up, down? Now that we have real-time sync in place, webhooks for your Halo and ConnectWise environments, it's like an hourly sync for your Autotask environments. And the idea being is that you've got this beautiful like layout that's giving you real-time updates. Now, how do your clients get to know this stuff? Mm-hmm. And so you can share this in a persona and create these little personas. Like as many of you know, you can share. So now your client can come in here and see a real-time update on what's going on. However, as we all know, your clients will not check a portal, not unless there's a really good reason.
Yep.
And so the issue with a Cadence right now is now you need to have a meeting with your clients on a weekly basis, like a 15-minute phone call. You need to do a QBR, you need to do a monthly session to go over all the reports you have from Power BI, from licensing to everything. And then what happens then is now you got to explain it all to them. And they're like, okay, well, what's this? What's that? What if instead they just got an email digest that went into their inbox where they didn't have to log into anything and gave them a beautiful layout of what's going on? And that's where we got, where's it at, Skip? It's right here.
Yep. In the share. Yep.
In the share. So if you look down here, there'll be a toggle in the test environment right now. Yep. You can see our test environment. If you have an active account with us, you can log into app-test and it will give you a beta environment that you can access and look at.
Yep.
So you flip on the email digest and look, you've got a breakdown.
Yeah.
How do you want this to be sent out? Where do you want to be sent? What company, what variables do you want to use? How often do you want this sent out? You want to send it now, or do you want to send it on a schedule? So if I say weekly, every Monday, do we have a time in here yet, Skip?
No, we don't. I was working on a list of little things to tweak. So
okay. So anyways, this is like an hour-old release, guys.
It is. It literally is.
Give us a little credit here, right? So January, April, May, so here's your cadences on your quarterlies. here's your annuals. Like you want to do a December release where you just have a budget that heads out. Mm-hmm. And so you create this cadence based upon this persona. So I'm going to send a 2023 budget out on an annual basis in December so that my client can talk it through. I'm going to send it to, I don't know. And so, or you can say, just send to the shared emails up here, right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with Adam at, hey, go away. Right. And then I'm going to send it. I'm going to actually send it right now because I don't want to send it later. And what's going to happen there is I'm going to get a nice JPEG screenshot of this item. Why a JPEG? Now, we could have gone full HTML. We played around with that for a while. We want something your client will look at and be happy about.
Yep.
And when we send an HTML email, it could get blocked by spam filters. It could go through a bunch of different issues. We don't know. But a JPEG in email, because as we know, email sucks, right? People, the format just is absolutely horrendous. It's as old as time. And a JPEG always parses really well. The worst thing that's going to happen is this image cannot be viewed.
Yeah.
And so what we want to be able to show is this view to our clients so they can say, oh, I've got something waiting for me, or I got a ticket that is overdue. I need to call Bob and say, why is no one working on my ticket? Or they have somebody at their company says, hey, I submitted a ticket like a couple weeks ago and Bob never worked on it. Let me open up the portal and look. Or they see in an email and they get ahead of it. Or they see in the budget that there's a bunch of PCs that are expiring. What do I do about this? So there's a whole bunch of things you can get your client to be ahead on, because now they have a little digest that is going to tell them in their email while they're drinking coffee in the morning. They're going through and they're going to see their Monday morning update from their favorite MSP. And this is actually a really good item to show. And I'm trying to like pull it up here. Here's a good example. Like, this is what it looks like in email. It's going to show what this looks like, and it's going to show them where they are, and they can just quickly glance at this. This is not requiring them to log in. It's not requiring them to go anywhere. It is simply oh, that's nice. Okay, I have nothing I need to worry about. The project list is empty. I move on with my day. Yeah. Or I need to call my MSP about this thing because this project is not moving. It's waiting for client.
Well, and the key element in all of our widgets there is they are dynamic. So if they look at something, they go, oh man, I wonder what's the update on that? Where's, is there any more information? When they click on that, that's going to link back to the persona itself. All right. So, ideally they could just come in and check the persona at any time and get this information. But as Adam said, that's, a lot easier said than done. So this will be yet another tool to bring them into that persona. So when they click on that, then they're going to get that information, prompted up. They're going to be able to get in there. They'll be able to navigate it. Maybe the persona or the digest that you sent out only had, 5 or 6 months in the budget. All right. But they're curious about something came up and they're curious about next year. Right. Those are those dynamic elements, and they'll be able to hit that scroll bar, look at the budget further down the road, get more details about projects, tickets, all that kind of stuff. Again, all of our dynamic content is going to be available to them. Again, removing the need for these mountain of reports that we bury our clients in sometimes. All right, let's get this information to them high level. If they are interested in something, it's super intuitive, really easy to just drill down. There's no learning, right? If you want to know something, you click on it. There you go. That's instructions on how to use the persona, right? And you get more of that rich context and detail. So great way to keep your clients in the loop and provide them the information they need when they want it.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that you understand, how does this fit in with Cadence? The way it fits in with Cadence is that you're creating an automated cadence. Now, I'm planning on releasing personas with this. So, for instance, let's look at this. Oh, it's not in this environment. It's in the other one. That's why I moved this away. So, I plan on having everybody have access to a weekly, monthly, and quarterly build. And then Skip brought up an interesting concept. We might be able to do like an executive build on a persona. So, these are already built, or you can copy what I have and make your own. But you have your announcements here. You can put in like your web portal here. You can put in things they need to know about the recent CrowdStrike outage or the Ingram Micro outage. How does that affect people?
Yeah.
Kind of come down here and put your announcements here, and they can click on those. Open projects, on hold projects, and then for maybe your executive one, for your monthly or your annual one, you might put up a couple budget widgets in there that say, "Hey, active budgetary items, or quarterly budgetary items, or proposed budgetary." put those all in here. Put your proposals in here so they can review and accept them. But that comes out in your quarterly, and it'll just go to like the decision makers. But your weekly email might go to all contacts at the company so they get to see what's going on and everybody gets this nice digest. This increases perceived value via a drip campaign. Some of them are going to read it, some of them are not. But the beauty is they all are reminded of all the things that you're doing for them, even if you never log into Humanize IT.
Yeah.
This is a gorgeous product, and you all get it. It comes at every level of Humanize IT. We'll get this email digest.
Yep.
So I'm super excited about this, but it won't work as effectively if you don't go into your project management. And I think you have to as of the project management update last week, you have to go in and reset up your integrations.
Well, you don't have to set up with Halo. You may with ConnectWise and Autotask. There's just a few fields that we need some more information around default values. So your existing API keys and all that will work just fine. Add that additional items that they're drop-down lists. So you just get to pick the default information that you want there, and then we're good to go. So it's a really, really easy step to add that on. There's even a global value. So I would suggest play around with it a little first. I had a member the other day, he was like, oh yeah, I flipped that on. And all of a sudden we had all these older items that were still hanging around, started showing up on the roadmap. And so we're like, oh, well, hold on, maybe we'll adjust this a little bit. But there's some really, really powerful things that we can kick off with these sync processes. So small bit of integration additions that we need there. So we've got our knowledge base articles on that. If you or reach out to us if you got any questions, and we'll help you get that up and running.
I was just typing out a question so I didn't forget it. How often should you be talking to your clients as one? Like Cadence, I need to talk into QBR, but often I get asked by people, "What do I need to talk about?" I don't even know what to talk about in those meetings. Cool. That means you're having the wrong pre-meetings here. Let me get rid of that screen share. Where's my screen at? Over here. What should you be talking to your clients about? And so depending on the size of your client and depending on the activity level of the client is the different conversations. No one has a real big question of, hey, what do I talk about during onboarding? You know exactly what you're talking about because you're onboarding them and you need to know, hey, how many PCs do they have? How many printers do they have? Phones, all the things you support. You have a conversation full of questions that you're going to ask. It's because it's a purpose-driven meeting. It's an onboarding meeting. Now, you may want to streamline that meeting. You may want to tweak around how you do your onboarding and automate some parts of it. That's fantastic. The reason why you have nothing to talk about in your QBR is because they're not purpose-driven. You just know you're supposed to have a QBR to touch point.
Yep.
Well, there's lots of things to talk about if you understand what it is you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be discovering from the company what they're doing so you can align with it. That makes QBRs really good. However, the client is going to have lots of questions for you. That's where, like, when you have like your weekly meetings, it should be a weekly update. Quickly, what's going on? What's the state of the union? Those are your weekly emails. So during your weekly emails, you're going to talk about licenses that are expiring. You're going to talk about PCs that need to be updated, or active projects that need feedback from the client, or just so they know, hey, this is going on. These tickets have been opened. These ones are closed. And the client is excited to hear about that. Then monthly, you're going to say, okay, how did the last month go? Do we finish anything last month? And depending on the noise level of the client, you'll want to fill these in a different rate. So a noisy client is going to have a bunch of projects that closed this last month. And then next month, there's going to be a bunch more projects coming up. So you're going to have 2 project windows there, upcoming projects, closed projects. And then they're going to see a whole bunch of things in there. But a small client, those are largely going to be empty most of the time. But they might see a bunch of tickets going through. So they're going to make sure that they look at their ticket queue every month. But they're not going to get much out of the project. So with the smaller client, you may want to send out a persona that says opportunities, things that we could be working for you. Yes. And for those of you who've been listening to Skip for the past couple of years, all those opportunities should be named something friendly. So when they read their email, like, oh, I can work from home if I do that. Why aren't we doing that? Let me click on that. And you can see it right there.
Well, there's I'm kind of wrapping my brain around a phrase you said a minute ago, Adam. What do I talk to my clients about? All right. And I hear that pretty often as well. And I think, well, let me put this out as a challenge to you. If you look at your calendar and for the next couple of weeks, for every client meeting you have coming up, are you looking at that meeting going, I need answers to X, Y, and Z? All right. And are those answers centered around, are you going to pay this invoice? Has this ticket been closed? Are you happy if we can close this ticket? Right. Those are very, very operational. The things you need to be wondering about and have pending questions on is around their business, right? Is the new, whatever they're trying to do, the new office, the new, the business launch they did, the new product they launched. How are those things going? Do they have any new challenges? If you've been doing this in the past and you identified a pain point, a challenge they had in their business, and you've implemented a solution to address that, then that immediately kicks off a whole series of follow-ups. How well is this solving the problem? Have we uncovered additional pain points in this? What can we do to make this process better? All of that is centered around their business. So when you're wondering, what do I talk about in these meetings? You talk about their business. So with that being said, if your expectation is you're showing up, you're preparing an hour's worth of content to talk to your clients, that's the wrong approach. At best, at least, you need to chop that in half, right? So that there is an equal give and take in that conversation. So don't expect to know everything you need to discuss in an upcoming meeting. You go into that meeting with expectations of discussing and receiving information. It's not always you just dialoguing and monologuing to your clients about things that are going on.
Yeah. And I want you to look at this. Like, for instance, I've got this little design out for a weekly update. Imagine if, like, up at the top here, you had things that are constantly coming in and announcements. Maybe you have a video in here of you just talking every week. So for all your clients, this is your 5-minute update. You record something, you post it to YouTube real quick, and you're done.
Yeah.
Or you do something like you type up something here every week. Right. But at the end of the month or end of 2 months, you go in and now your client has been reading your email and goes, hey, you mentioned there was a large outage like last month. Yep. What's the deal with that? Or, hey, you said there was a big deal with Dell right now. Hey, should we be replacing some of our PCs and taking advantage of that? So you have things to talk about because you're keeping them up to date. And I know I talk about personal relationships a lot because it reflects on your client relationships. When you watch a movie with your wife, you may or may not talk during the movie. However, for the next 3 weeks, you might quote the movie, you might reference it, or the next 3 hours after the movie, you might sit down to a dinner and discuss like what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, your favorite parts, because you have this common ground you're standing on.
Yep.
And you're trying to feed relationships with common ground. You want to have things and experiences that you have in common so you can relate to it. This email is your common ground, people. Yep. This is where you're telling your client, here's what's going on. Here's what we did for you. Here's kind of like where your business is right now. Here's the opportunities that are going to help your business grow. Those are powered by your QBRs, by the way. And that way, everybody's always being reminded the common ground, the thing you see consistently. This is a drip campaign for account managers. Well, so really when you have a meeting, you have things to talk about.
A really exciting element in those announcements is I've seen a few of you do this. All right. A lot of you think this is a good idea. A few of you have executed on this. You sit down, you get the lights and the camera all set up, and you do a recording and you throw it out on YouTube or maybe LinkedIn or whatever. And it's good stuff. I've seen a lot of them. They're short. They're really to the point. They're like a quick, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, here's a quick little tip. We've seen this, coming in. We want to make sure everyone knows about it. Some of you are doing a really, really good job at that. But you go back and you look at the YouTube statistics, and you're getting, 12 views, and 4 of them are from you and your team, right?
Yeah.
As you test it, and you're like, I get a lot of people that are like, I put all that energy into that, and no one's even looking at those, right? Because it's another process, right? You've got to depend on it coming up in their feed, or now they're getting kind of this random link. If you're trying to push that out in some other format, now take that great initiative and embed that in a content widget there. And so they're going to see the little, thumbnail image or whatever that comes up. Really easy to click on that and go, oh, okay, here's that. Yeah, he talks about this stuff. He's got something cool every week. And now this shows up along with all of the other things going on. And so, if you're talking about something that's really important, like, didn't we have a project on that? Or are we working on that right now? It's all right there. They get all of the information in one package. So I think there's a lot of possibilities. Adam and I and the rest of the team have really been brainstorming this. We've come up with some really cool stuff, but I have a really good suspicion that we're going to see some exciting things that we haven't even thought of. So I'm really, really looking forward to this, to see what you guys do with it and make it even more powerful.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Like, I see a lot of, I was talking to Skip and Richard, and I was asking people, like, why aren't there any email digests out there for MSPs? And it turns out there are. There's lots of, like, turn this report on for your clients.
Yeah.
But they're always operational. Like,
Yes,
how many tickets were closed, or what's the performance metrics? No one cares about those things.
Or at best, they're siloed. They're one little slice of something. Why not give them a view into everything?
Yeah. And so the goal would be to have something that your client actually cares about, design a view that your client cares about. And they may not be super excited to see it, but at least it's pretty. And it gives them a little bit of like, okay, we're improving, we're getting somewhere, we're trending up. I like where we're going. We've got some projects completed. We're getting something out of our MSP for our dollar.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing tickets closed. They're seeing all the activities. They're seeing things, and there's that perceived value. And now they feel heard, they feel seen. And this is something that I don't see in the environment, other than people are trying to force these ugly reports, or these reports that are really interesting to engineers, on their accounts. And that's why your clients are disengaged, is because you keep talking about how an engine is made, and they don't care. They just want to know, is my Corvette sexy?
There we go. Yeah.
Can I go fast? Do I go vroom vroom? Like, do I get good gas mileage? They have all their different things. I'm going car shopping this weekend, so I got cars in the mind.
Yeah, there you go.
But you want to say, like, where are we? How are we moving forward? And no reports really push this, because it doesn't seem to be in alignment with reselling a lot of these operational tools you use. They're trying to sell to MSP, so they don't have emails going out that make clients feel really good about themselves. That's what we're building. And I'm hoping it's the first of its kind. I'm hoping that it's amazing. I'm hoping that it wins a lot of you more clients. Like, hey, if you work with us, you get this view into everything on a weekly basis, quarterly basis, monthly basis. You automatically get this insight, so you know that your spend is working.
Yep.
So you've got good ROI. Your current MSP just gives you phone calls every once in a while. We're going to keep you up to date.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that this brings perceived value to all you all. I'm hoping this improves everybody's cadence as you do a weekly, monthly, quarterly, automatically. And then when you meet with your clients on that cadence of an annual, a quarterly, a weekly, or whatever you're doing, you have something to talk about now. You're now sitting on the same page, and you've got good grounding together. I love cadence. Cadence is king. It is more important than cash. It's more important than anything, because this is what makes your customers come back for more. This is what keeps you continuously improving. This is what ultimately brings cash to your table. So I shouldn't say it's more important than cash. I would say it's one of the most important things that influence the amount of cash you have on hand, and how happy your or how well your company runs.
Yeah, I would say meetings that are extremely well put together. You've got all the content that you're looking for. You've got structured the way you want. Those are all ideal, but we know the challenges of doing those. And sometimes we have to understand that consistency is going to win out. If you're struggling to get this together, but at least you are getting those conversations with your clients, you are having those meetings on a regular basis, you're going to stay plugged in on what's going on. And that is going to keep you from those unexpected cancellations. That's going to keep you from getting in situations where your client has gone off and done something and you had no visibility in it. Now you're scrambling, they're upset, all these sort of things. That consistent communication can go so much further than a, very well polished and shiny, setup that looks the way we ultimately want everything to work. But we got to understand consistency is the more important value. So you got to set the cadence, and then you got to be consistent with it.
All right, everyone. I thank you for attending. I thank you for watching After Hours. For all of you who do that, there's about 70 of you, I think, that watch After Hours.
Yep.
But yeah, give us a call. Let us know if we can help you set this up. Let us know if we can help you build this. If you want to be part of the beta and want to see how it looks in your environment, we'll happily do the test with you. We'll walk you through it. Just reach out to your coach, or to, was it support at humanizeit.biz or coaching at humanizeit.biz, whichever one you're comfortable with. And we'll help you build this. We'll help you look at this, because this is hitting prod next week.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you later, and have a great summer.
See ya.